Hi, it's Anne here, and today's video is going to be some swatching of two Viseart palettes. So I have here the Petite Mattes Neutral and the Petite Mattes Cool, and I thought I'd just do some swatches. I asked you guys if you wanted to see a video with this, so we're just going to do some arm swatches, and then I think I'm going to try and add in on the end some eye swatches. Like we'll do an eye look, like one using some of shades from here and one using some of shades from here, and see how that goes. I am filming with a different camera right now, so I'm crossing my fingers that this is going to work out okay. And I'm also going to apologize in advance. My arm's going to probably start looking like chicken skin because it's really cold in my apartment, and yeah, the heat's, they haven't flipped over to the heat in my building. It's centralized. And so yeah, my apartment is freezing cold, and I've got all the layers on, but with my arm being exposed, it's probably gonna look a little chicken skinny. So we're gonna start off with this one. I'm actually really excited about this one. I haven't really used this one yet. I don't think I've used anything in this yet, but I know I've used a couple of shades in this one on my eyes, and I haven't swatched these at all. So like other than using those couple of shades. So this is gonna be like a first. We're doing this together as a first. And the reason why I'm excited to try this one, because it's really interesting. The picture online kind of makes it look like there's more variation in the colors, but then when I received the palette, like these three in particular look very similar. Well, really these two look like almost identical. And like these are all really close as well. So it'll be interesting to swatch them to see what they look like. I was looking on their website, and they do mention that you can use these sort of like eyes, face, whatever. And I was like, yeah, I guess you could. Like if you're doing like a nose contour, you can definitely use some of these shades. I know some people like to contour their lips. I mean, it's a little difficult with the size of these pans, but it's definitely possible. I never really thought about that. Also, this particular palette, the names are mostly French. I mean, the names are all French, but some of them you can English pronounce them. So I am gonna try my French. I can't even say French pronunciation. Oh dear. I'm gonna try French pronunciation. I'm not doing it to mock people. I actually do want to make my French better. I'm terrible at French, and I feel like a bad Canadian. So again, I'm gonna try in some cases to be a little bit more on the French accenty way than the English way. But anyway, they also do give suggestions on their website for how to use each shade, and I thought that was kind of interesting. I never really thought about that before. So we're gonna try and fit this all on my arm here. We'll start on this end and move forward. So let's just do the first four. So this first shade is called Cannelle, and it is described as a deep peach with a matte finish. Everything says with a matte finish, so I'm not going to say that. This one, number 2, is beige. It's described as a warm peach beige. Number 3 is called Pêche. It's a light peach beige. I'm wondering if I have these. Yep, I'm reading them in the right order because the next one's the right one. Just going to swatch that one a little more because it's very, very light on my skin. And then this last one is called, I think in French you say ivoire. It's ivory. Oh, I just bumped the camera. Oops. Sorry. We're real professional over here. So that's ivoire. Let's move on to the next 4. So this one is called, you can actually see all of it, like they're very, very, very powdery, very, very soft. This number 5 is called Chocolat, described as a warm chocolate red brown. Number 6 is called Brisk, which is described as a warm sienna. That one is very unique. I think it's very, very warm. Even though this is a neutral palette, it's a very warm color. Number 7 is called Taupe. So fun fact, they call this a caramel warm brown. The word taupe, when I was looking up like French pronunciations, like if taupe sounds different, I mean you could say like dope, but it actually means mole, like the animal, the mole. It's like, learn something new every day. And number 8 is called Cafe. They describe this as a taupe cool brown, which I find interesting. I would have called these different. I would have called Cafe taupe and the other way around. Let me get a little bit more of that one. But yeah, I feel like, okay, they are swatching a little differently on camera. Again, they're very, very close. This shade here, which is taupe, interestingly enough, the taupe has ever so much slight warmness, and this is ever so slightly cool. I really feel like this was a missed opportunity to provide a little bit of a variation here because they're very, very similar. Okay, let's move on to the last 4. So shade number 9 is called Carbon, and it is described as a natural black. Number 10 is Souris, which is described as a deep gray. Souris means mouse, by the way. Number 11 is Cendre, which is a soft, cool gray brown. I really like this shade. Again, I haven't played with these yet. I think I used Cafe on my eyes. If you're curious, that means ash. And then the last color is Noisette, which is a light, cool brown. And again, that means hazelnut. If you're curious what the English translation is on that one. Let's give that one a little bit more. It's hard to pinky swatch. Oh, I have lots more room on my arm than I thought. I tend to when I used to first start swatching, I spread them out so much that I would run out of room. So I tend to mush them together a little bit more, but in this case I didn't need to mush them so much. So here we are with these shades. Yeah, I feel like these 3, this one definitely looks different. Let me swatch that sort of above it or below. Let's kind of give this a swatch right here to see. Yeah, there's definitely a missed opportunity there because I feel like those 3 shades are way too similar. I feel like they definitely could have done something different. So that's Taupe, Cafe, and Noisette. They're all way too similar, and I know on the eyes those are gonna look pretty identical. I also feel like here we could have had this be a little deeper maybe, and a bit more depth, difference between these 2, because I feel like in particular I feel like these 2 are looking the same as well. So again, maybe not the best in terms of shade variation. There's a bit of repetitiveness in this, and I think on the eyes they're really gonna look the same. But I do feel like this is a super practical palette. I mean, from a practicality perspective, you're going to use those shades a lot. So having kind of 2 of them is probably super helpful. And yeah, they're very, very soft. From my experience of using a couple of shades, I've been really happy with how easy they are. So we'll see how that works on the eyes. But let me just wipe that one off because it's looking a little awkward. So there we are with the Petite Matte Neutral palette. And I feel like this leans warm enough for me. Definitely when you get that bisque shade in there. Okay, let's move on to the Cool palette. Okay, here we are with the Cool palette. This is the palette that I've been most excited about to get. I think I've used this shade, but I haven't used, yeah, I can even tell looking at it that shade's used. But I literally, that shade, I haven't touched anything on here. So this is fresh and clean. The other thing about this palette, the names are English, so we won't have any terrible, bad French pronunciations, which again, I apologize. I'm not trying to mock French pronunciations. I'm trying to do them properly, and it's very hard. So let's start with the first row. Let's just get into swatching this guy. I feel like looking at this palette, there's more variety in the shades than that neutrals one. So this first shade is called Salt, and it's described as a pale bone. Oh, let's try and get a little bit more of that. It's very, very light. Pale bone. The second shade is called Sand. It's a cool, I didn't get any of that one. Maybe I did, and that one's exactly my skin tone. Oh yeah, it totally is close to my skin tone. It's called Sand, and it's described as a cool, light beige. That's my skin tone. Yeah, that does not show up on my skin at all, which is good and bad. It's good because it's good for blending. I shouldn't say it's bad. There's nothing bad about that. That's a good thing. The next shade is called Seashell, which is a light pink. Again, very, very light. These ones are very, very light. There you go. You can see that a little bit better. And then the last shade is called Lilac, which is a light purple. Again, I feel like I swatched these a lot lighter than I did the neutrals. But they're very, very, these are very light shades. Potentially if you have warm, deeper skin, I shouldn't say potentially, if you have warm, deeper skin, these will probably come across a little ashy, particularly these three shades. I feel like this has enough warmth to it that will be not so ashy, but this shade will probably come up ashy for certain people. So this shade is called Shoreline, and it's a, oh, that's the shade that I used. Shoreline, it's called medium, it's a medium cool brown. This shade is called Fog. It's a light cool gray. It's funny, they call this a light cool gray. I'm not sure what they called Suri, but that's definitely a lighter, this is a deeper gray than Suri. This is the shade called Sky, which is a light blue. Again, I would not say this is super light. When you think of like, that's a light pink, this is definitely more of a, it's definitely a nice like grayish blue. I really like that kind of a blue shade. I feel like it's very wearable when they're more of that gray shade. And then the shade number 8 is called Lupine, and it's a dusty medium purple. I do really like, let's swatch a little bit more of that. I do really like this purple row here being like medium, light, medium, dark, and very obvious light, medium, dark. Yeah, that's a really pretty color. Again, it doesn't maybe look super fascinating in the swatch, but we're gonna try these. I think I definitely wanna do the purples, try the 3 different purples on my eye and see how those look. I'm very curious to see compared to the Odin's Eye palette. I really enjoy the colors of the Odin's Eye palettes, the mattes. They're this sort of range, but they're definitely difficult to blend. So we'll see how easy or difficult these ones are to blend. These ones don't feel, I'm just gonna say on touch, these 3 in particular don't feel as soft as some of the others. They're still soft in terms of, like, you can see there's shadow sort of dusting off, but they don't feel to the touch as soft, if that makes sense. So shade number 9 is Ghirardelli, which I find an interesting shade name because as far as I know, that's just like somebody's name for chocolate, like a chocolate brand. So they did like name this after a chocolate brand. They describe this as a chocolate, literally chocolate cool. They say chocolate cool matte. Shade number 10 is called Elk, and they call this a bitter brown. It's not really, it's a gray. It's not really brown. There's maybe a hint of brown in it. It's definitely not black like Carbon. It's a softer black. It's a gray black with a touch of warmth to it. The shade is called Bluebells, which is they call it a deep fresh blue, which I find an interesting description. I get the freshness because there's definitely a bit more spice to this, a bit more brightness to this, even though it's a deep color. It's interesting, I'm looking on the camera and things are definitely looking maybe a little bit more washed out on camera than in person. I feel like this is looking a little deeper. Well, there we go. It's kind of, I feel like it's just maybe the angle. And then this last shade is called Iris, and they call this a deep purple blue. And I think that's a good description because it definitely has more of a blue tone to it, which is actually a hard purple to find. A lot of purples lean a bit warmer than this. Yeah, I feel like the camera's washing things out a little bit. Maybe I can fix that a little bit in post and drop down the brightness a little. I'm, again, filming with a new camera, or it's not new. It's just I normally don't film with this like this. I'm gonna switch over to this camera, I think, for filming full time, but I'm just kind of learning the settings because it's a very different setup than my Canon camera. This one's a Sony. So these are the cool mattes. Definitely more variety in this one. I feel like, let's get a little bit more of this. I think this was called Sky. I feel like it's not swatched very nicely. There we go, that looks a little bit better. Kind of build up that color a bit. Yeah, this color's hilarious because you can't see it at all. It's called Sand. But yeah, there's definitely more range in this palette, which I think I like better. More uniqueness for me. I don't really have colors like this in my collection. I have some similar-ish ones, but definitely not identical. So yeah, this is the Petite Matte Cool palette. Again, you can see my chicken skin, sorry. I'm a little cold, so got some goosebumps. So yeah, that's the swatches for the two Viseart palettes. Let's move on to doing an eye look. I'm going to do one eye look with one palette and like one eye. We're just going to do both at the same time, if that makes sense. We'll get to it if you want to stick around for that. If you don't want to stick around for that, I won't be offended. I often drop out of a video after I see the swatches. I'm like, cool, swatches. Don't really care to see the look on the eyes. Okay, we're really zoomed into my face, and this is in 4K, I think, potentially. And I think I've got the color right. I had to adjust the color settings a little bit. So I feel like the swatch part, everything leaned a little cooler. I think things are a little warmer in person, so I think that's why it looked a little bit washed out. Again, I'll try and fix that in post and slightly adjust it in post so it looks a little bit more true to life, because that's the whole point of doing the swatches. So we're gonna do a couple eye looks. Please ignore my eyebrows, they need to be tidied up. I'm wearing no makeup at all. This is me. Hi. So let's start off with this one. Again, I'm least excited about this one in terms of like doing a look, because I don't feel like I can do a real look with this. But we're gonna try, I'm gonna go in with, we're gonna start with this shade, which I don't remember the shade name. Where is the box? That's one thing that's annoying. Shade names are not on the shades. This is Cafe. So let's go in with Cafe, and just using my Wayne Goss brush that needs to be washed. I'm gonna do that, if not today, tomorrow. It's getting done this weekend, that is for sure. Go in with Cafe here. Yeah, see, like, I just feel like that just went on. This is why I love Viseart shadows. I just feel like they're easy. They're very, very easy to use. That just went on so smoothly and so easy. Okay, let's add in Bisque, because I feel like that's like the most interesting color. That's the sort of reddy shade right here. Ready as in red, not I'm ready to go. Let's just maybe tap that off a little. And let's just put that on the lid here, just to see how that works. Maybe not the best two shades together, but we're just playing with seeing how they work. But like, I just feel like this is why I like Viseart shadows. They go on so nicely and they blend so nicely. At least this is my experience so far, and that's why I wanted to buy these. The other reason is they're great for travel. I love the small sizes. I love smaller shadows because I feel like it's kind of why I like minis. I like to have a lot of color. I like to have a lot of variety, and having smaller pans makes that easier. I don't feel so wasteful. Let's use a different brush. I'm gonna go in with a slightly, I'm gonna go with a flatter brush, but I don't know if that makes sense. But maybe we do it anyway, just to try it. Because I usually use a flat brush when I go in on the lid with like a, let's go in with this shade brush actually. When I go in with like a sparklier shade, I use flat brushes. This is a, what were they called? The two, oh my gosh, what's right there? Real Techniques, which I didn't realize they didn't actually own this brand. They were like spokespersons of the brand, which was interesting. I'm gonna go in with this shade right here, which is, oh, right here, which is Canal, just because it's the most pigmented out of those like beigey type shades. Let's get some warmth in there. And then let's maybe go in with Ivoire. And we'll go in with a little pencil brush. Put that in the corner. I tend to do this, I tend to lighten up the inner corner with a lot of looks that I do because of my eye being so deep set. I feel like it just helps lift the color, but like, how pretty is that? And it took me, like, the fact that I can talk to you and I feel like it's turned out quite nice. A lot of times I watch videos after and I'm like, wow, I did not blend that eyeshadow at all, because it's very hard to film it and talk and like looking in the mirror. It's very different than when you're just focused on doing your makeup. And even then, I think makeup in person versus on camera, it looks different. Like sometimes in person, it's gonna look fine, but on camera, for some reason, the camera like just zeroes in on any sort of like problem. So I wanna go in with, actually I wanna try the Carbon shade, which is this one, but yeah, look how powdery. See how powdery these are? They're very, very powdery. So that's just something to be aware of. It doesn't bother me. Just give it a little, I know most people don't like doing this, but I blow on the palette. I'm the only one using this palette. If you were sharing this with other people, maybe that's not a great idea. But you can always sanitize with a bit of rubbing alcohol spray. So it's, okay, I wanna go in with that Carbon shade in the crease, and I'm gonna use my favorite brush for doing that kind of work. It's this little Sonia G brush. I just love, you can see how dark it is because it's always a dark shadow that I use on that. We're just gonna go in with Carbon on the outer corner here. If you're not sure how to use a black shade, this is how you use a black shade. You use it to like, you can use it as a liner or you use it to like deepen up. So you just put a little bit on and then just wiped off the brush a little bit and then blend it in. There we go. It's very Halloween-y look. Did not intend that. I also want to go in with the shade Cendre, which is the ash shade. Let's do that on the lower lash. Again, this look does not, it's not a look. I'm gonna be honest, this is gonna get washed off after this video and I'll do my real makeup for the day. That's not quite so bizarre looking. Oh, where's my brush? There it is. So the brush that I like to do lower lash line is this one. This is a Sephora brush. Don't know if it has a number on it. Oh, it might. Pro Shader 18. It's a Sephora Pro brush. I've been very like vocal lately on like being annoyed with prices at Sephora. From what I understand, now that I've kind of looked at it, it's like they're trying to reconcile exchange rates, which is kind of annoying because I don't think they ever really did that much in the past. Because exchange rates fluctuate, and we all know if the exchange rate gets better, they're probably not going to drop prices. Let's be real. So let's just go in with the ash shade on the bottom of my lash line here. I can definitely see myself using that shade. Like I am drawn to wanting to use that shade because it's sort of this gray with a bit of a hint of warmth to it. There's something really interesting about it that it's very unique. It's like this one, even though this is called Souris, to me this is a mousy gray because it's that brownie gray. But yeah, really, really happy with that. Okay, I could keep going on forever. I feel like I'm gushing about these. I am. When I really like something, I do really like it. I do feel like the Viseart shadows, while they're expensive, are worth the price to me. I know some people don't like them though. I know some people have tried them and they're not impressed. I think it just depends on your makeup style as well. I know Viseart is maybe not as intense as some people want. Like, do you think of a palette like, I think like Glam Light or something, like where they're really, really pigmented palettes? That's, even though I don't even own Glam Light, just from what I've seen when people use them, you're not necessarily always getting that with a Viseart. They're more softer, but they're still pigmented. They're kind of a nice in between. So let's move on to this. I'm gonna go in with the purple shade here. Grab our shade names. This one was called Lupine. And again, I'm just gonna use my little color switch here to dust off the brush, and we're pretty much use the same brushes because they're the brushes I use all the time. I'm gonna kind of do the same kind of look with a variety of different colors and see how that works. I'm really interested in seeing how these cooler shades, because especially purples. Whoa! There goes the brush. Really interested to see how these cooler shades, especially purples, is what I was trying to say, is notoriously patchy. But I feel like this is not. So the one thing I will say, like with this look, I'm just going straight in on the eye. My advice is you kind of need to set a base for your eye, especially if you're older, like me. Even if you're not older, I've always had like veiny skin, like you can see like texture and different colors. I always use sort of like a concealer, or sometimes I don't go in with concealer, I just use eye primer, but then I use like a light like powder shade to like set everything, to sort of give you a blank canvas. I think that makes a big difference in terms of if things are going to come across patchy or not. I feel like this looks really good, and it does not, like when I think of, again, when I was doing the Odin's eye look, I really like the shades, but it took a lot of effort to really get the placement and the color where I wanted it. I mean, these shadows are definitely not as pigmented maybe as other shadows. I've said that already. I'm being repetitive. You're not getting a wabam purple, but I feel like this is way more practical for me. This is like, I can wear color, but I'm not like, it's not crazy. Let's just use the same brush, and I'm gonna go in the shade Lilac. That's the lighter purple color. We're gonna go all over the lid with that one. Just gonna put that everywhere. Let's go all over with it. I do feel like I need to tap into, just to keep, if I want to really build that color up, I need to keep tapping into the powder. But again, I would rather have a buildable shadow than put it on and be like, oh crap, there's too much. How do I move it around? Where do I go? I just feel like these are working really nicely for me. I mean, this is taking me a long time because I'm filming it right now, but if I were not filming, I'd have this done really quickly. Let's try and put in some of this pink shade here, which was called, Seashell. It is looking, I still don't quite have the color right. I feel like the pink shade is looking a little washed out. I don't know why. Yeah, it's looking a little more skin toned color, like my skin toned color. It's definitely pinker. There's definitely more pink to it in person. Let's put that here. Yeah, not a lot of variety on that shade. Between the pink and the purple, you're not going to see a big difference. It's interesting, yeah, in person I'm definitely seeing more pink. The camera's not picking that pink up, although I did used to have that problem with the Canon camera. The Canon camera cannot pick up fuchsia pink. I don't have anything fuchsia pink. Oh, I do. Spoiler. Yeah, this one's not picking up the fuchsia right. So there's something off. FYI, I did buy this. FYI, I love it. Recommend. And it's good value for money. Even though they're minis, the price actually works out for those. If you're $1, sometimes it's not about that. Sometimes it's just getting minis in multiple shades, but you want to make sure you're getting your value for your money. Those ones compared to the full size are definitely value for the money. Okay, let's go in with the deep purple. I want to go in with the shade, what did I, oh, it's just my sweater. I want to go in with Iris in the crease, kind of like how I did the Carbon shade. And just deepen this up a little. The problem with this eye look or this palette is I want to use the blues. I want to use all the shades, but I don't have enough eye space to do that. That's such a pretty purple. Oh, I really like that shade. I really like these purples. I love these cooler tone purples. Like, I'm loving my eye looks, even though they're bizarre. I just feel like even just that blend between those shades. Like, if I go back in with a little bit of, like, the lupine and just work that in the middle there. Like, they work so well together. I mean, it's not perfect. I get it. It's not a perfect palette. I would say, again, for some people, this is not ba-bam enough. But for me, I really, really enjoy this. Okay, I'm going to use one of the blues because I feel like I have to use a blue. And I'm going to use it on my lower lash line. I'm going to use the deeper blue, the Bluebell shade, on my lower lash line. I don't know if I'll post the video, but I did. This is the second video I filmed, like, in this setup with this camera. I tried filming a little clean with me video, and the camera it literally died within, like, the first 5 minutes of filming. So I barely got any footage. So I'm not 100% sure if I will post that video, because I do have some footage. It'll be a very short video. I kind of want to post it anyway, just because it's a bit of a fail. That went on really easily, really nicely. Again, it kind of looks a little, it doesn't look great because I need to, like, put a bit of concealer on. It's really pulling the blue from under my eye, making me look a little dead. But yeah, I feel like those shades look really nice, those shadows. And again, I have older eyelids. I think you could see the texture. You can see the texture on them, and I feel like these sit really nice if you have mature skin. I think these are gonna work really well for mature skin as well, which is always something, like, every once in a while, like, I don't think I have mature skin, and then, or you forget you do, and then I'll use an eyeshadow, and I'm like, oh, that just makes my eyes look really, like, crepey and not pretty. I mean, the under eyes are crepey. That's who I am. I think that's a genetic thing that I can't really do much about. Yeah, it's pulling. I think I have a bit of fallout over here or something. Maybe it's just from my fingers touching. I definitely have fallout, actually. Now that I'm looking at it, there's definitely a bit of fallout there, so that's something to note. But other than that, really, really happy with this. So I'm gonna stop now because I feel like I'm just gonna get repetitive. I really enjoy these palettes. I feel like they're gonna be super practical for me. Personally, the cool mattes is it's what I wanted to buy, but I felt like the neutrals was a good choice as well for, like, practicality reasons. I've already been eyeing up some of their shimmer palettes. I'm not a huge fan of, I shouldn't say I'm not a huge fan of their shimmers. It's just not something I immediately think of when I think of Viseart, but I do like some of them in my other palettes. So yeah, there's a couple of, like, all shimmer palettes that I'm definitely eyeing. I think the Paris one, and I think there's a Koi one. They're both on the menu for potential future purchase, but maybe not just yet. So anyway, if you like this video, feel free to give a little thumbs up down below. And if you haven't already, I would love it if you subscribe to my channel here in Toronto, Canada. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you sometime soon. Bye.